Welcome, YouTubers, fellow preppers, and survivalists. I'm going to tell you a story about why I became a prepper. I'm going to start out from the beginning, so just bear with me. And I may go off topic. I do that a lot. I've been hit in the head a lot. That's the price of MMA. Well, this is how it all started. When I was 13 years old, I watched a movie with Yul Brynner in it called The Warrior. That really caught my attention because I was just a kid, but I could see that that's the way I seen the world would end up. So I watched that movie quite a bit, The Warrior with Yul Brynner in it. Then, at the age 13, I hated school. I hated it. I dropped out of school when I was 13 years old. And my mom and dad got a divorce. So I did whatever I wanted to do. So after watching that movie, The Warrior, I lived on the streets, and then I watched the movie Conan. And I was like, well, and I read Soldier of Fortune magazine all the time. And really, that's when I said, man, when I grow up, I want to be a soldier of fortune. That was my plans. So then, I smoked a lot of pot. And I watched Conan the Barbarian. And I was like, man, I want to get jacked like that. Well, by then, I'll just be honest with you, I was a little criminal. I was stealing cars, stealing anything to get by. Because I lived on the streets. My mom and dad, they had no idea. They were divorced. My mom thought I was living with dad. My dad thought I was living with my mom. Well, next thing you know, I started doing that cocaine, that powder. And I met some bikers. They were real cool dudes. And because I was a minor, they would have me do things that they wouldn't do because they knew I wouldn't get in big trouble. And I was fortunate. I never really got caught. I got away with a lot. I never got caught. So then, by the time I turned 15, my dad, he figured out what I was doing. He was like, boy, you going back to school. I said, no, I ain't neither. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you any car you want, or truck, whatever you want, I'll buy it for you if you go back to school. So you know, I've been driving stolen cars, motorcycles, whatever. And I was like, I don't want a car. He's like, well, I will buy you whatever you want. And at 15 years old, with a learner's permit, you could ride a motorcycle by yourself. I said, I want a Harley. So he said, all right, I'll buy you a Harley as long as you go back to school. So here I am, 15 years old, riding a Harley to middle school, the only kid that drove or rode to school. And back then, you know, I had long blonde hair. And that's when having long hair was, people didn't like that. I believe that's why I had it long. But anyway, so I rode that motorcycle to school, and then a little while I said, man, I can't deal with this. So I'd smoke me something, and then I could deal with it. And I went to school for a while. Well, then I met my first wife. I was just 15 years old. She was barely 15. And she was fine. Man, she was smoking hot. I said, man, I got to have that girl. Well, the problem with being with a beautiful woman is every guy wants her. But she liked to smoke pot. And everybody knew, you want to smoke weed? Ernie got the weed. Just go to him. So I smoked pot. I was jacked, man, because I wanted to look like Conan. So I lifted weights. That's all I did was smoke and lift weights. And then I discovered steroids. So I got really jacked. But deep down inside, I still always wanted to be a soldier of fortune. Be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. Well, I became one, a gun for hire. And that's back when these companies, they would hire anybody to do that kind of work. And I was really good at it, and I was fearless. I still am. You can't scare me. I don't have that in me. I learned at a very young age. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a choice. And I was very courageous. You know, and when you're that young, you feel invincible. So, I did a lot of stuff. And I had to beat up a lot of guys to keep them away from that girl. Because, man, was she fine. Ooh, woo, man, was my first wife. She's smoking hot. Well, when we had our first baby, because I got her pregnant on purpose. Because I figured, well, if I get her pregnant, I got her forever. Wrong. But it worked for a while. And I did whatever I had to do to make money. And we lived really good. Real good. Then I had another kid. Then I had another kid. All 3 girls. Now, if you go down in my videos, you'll see me much better looking and younger. Where my girls were on Bay News 9 and Nickelodeon and Channel 13 News. I got those videos on here if you go down the list. You'll see me telling my daughter to smash his face in the mat. And I was really hard on my daughters. Because I just knew the world was going to be rough. And I have experienced a lot of rough things in my life. This is what made me the All-American Prepper. This story right here. So I did what I had to do, gun for hire, made money, lots of money, had my daughters trained by the best instructors I could find. Meanwhile, I was training MMA. My daughters were the first, my two oldest daughters were the first girls ever in America to win boys division Roman Greco wrestling. First girls ever in America to do that. And they went to the Olympics in judo. Now, they didn't win, but they won a lot to make it to the Olympics in judo. So at least they made it to the Olympics in judo. Well, they became teenagers and teenage girls. They were bad. They got it honestly. They were my kids, you know. And I had them trained because I just knew from the things I've seen in the world just how rough this world is. So, and like I said, I'm going to ramble a little bit. Now, before that, I would skip school a lot. And that's when Red Dawn came out in the theaters. I'd ride my Harley to the theater every day for at least 2 weeks and watch Red Dawn. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen. Okay, so that's another movie that put me on my course. Was The Warrior, Conan the Barbarian, and Red Dawn. So my girls, they accomplished a lot. But I was so hard on them. They really don't like me all that much. And they don't let me see my grandkids. You know, me and my first wife, that, man, I fell to my knees when I saw her. I beat a lot of guys up to keep them away from her. Basically, she had no choice. I was the only guy she could date because I run all the other guys off. And we had 3 kids, and I was a gun for hire. Well, by the time I was 35, because we literally grew up together, we grew apart. But, back up a little bit. As we were growing up together and dating, I watched Miami Vice, the series that came on every Friday night. And I was like, I want to live that lifestyle. And I don't mean Crockett and Tubbs neither. I mean, I want to live like the bad guys live, with all the money, all the women, all the flake. So, I did some of that too, and I did live that life. But again, let's get back to when I was 35. We grew apart. We took each other for granted. Man, do I regret that. We got a divorce. My kids, they don't come around me, you know, because my daughter, my oldest daughter, I'm just going to be honest with you. My oldest daughter, she's like, Dad, because I asked her, I said, why don't you let me see my grandkids? And she said, I do not want my kids exposed to your world. Well, as a 1%er and a president, I understand that. I don't hate her for it. Do I miss my kids? Yes. Do I miss my grandkids and do I love them? Yes. And I would do anything for them. But I can't. Because my daughters, they just won't let me have nothing to do with them. And I never really did nothing bad. Now, it was hard. Like I said, you go down in the videos, you'll see me and them on the news. Because they were kicking ass. First girls ever in America to win boys division Roman Greco wrestling. So I lived that life. Lived real good. Then I got a divorce, and I didn't realize it, but I was suffering from PTSD really bad. And I was prescribed Xanaxes. And man, do I like those things. I ain't gonna lie. And that kind of made me, I don't know, don't take those things. I don't take any of that crap anymore. So then I crashed, you know. I crashed and burned. I had lost my family, and my family was everything to me. I didn't matter. My family was everything. And I lost my family. Well, now, when I was at rock bottom, I saw Little Miss Prepper. Now, don't hate me for it. Her parents do, but she's half my age. But man, when I saw her, I fell on my knees. I said, oh, I got to have that girl right there. And she said, oh no, I'm not going to date you. You're too old for me. Well, at the time, me and my youngest daughter was still hanging around with me because she was daddy's baby. And she hooked me and Little Miss Prepper up because she knew Dad, he's got a drinking problem. Dad's got a lot of problems. Well, Little Miss Prepper, she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, she doesn't do drugs, she doesn't cuss, she doesn't lie. She's a good church-going girl. So my daughter, she thought, well, this girl can straighten Dad out. And it worked. It did. She straightened me out the best she could. And still, she's over there sleeping the best she can. But I'm still a 1%er. I'm still the president of this club. And you earn that, Bubba. You can believe that. And even at my age, I still love to climb in that cage and fight MMA. I love it. And she told me, she said, I will marry you, but no more gun for hire. I don't care if we got to live on the streets. I don't care how we got to live, but you are not doing that no more if you want to marry me. So I said, okay. I said, well, what about me working in security? She said, you can do that. You can do whatever you want, as long as you ain't out there doing what gave you PTSD. So I started working as a bouncer, and given the life experiences I have, the gun for hire, president, 1%er, I'm really good. In my opinion, I'm the best bouncer in the world. That's just my opinion. And there's a lot of, any place I ever bounce at, I always become head of security. Because I'm not afraid of nothing. Nobody can threaten me. I do not care. I will get out there and I will brawl with 4 or 5 of them. And I usually win that fight. And I do whatever it takes to win it. I'll mace them. You know, when I work with bouncers, they're like, man, why in the hell are you wearing steel-toe boots? We're on our feet all night. And I was like, you'll see. Well, they are work boots. And then they seen, oh, now I know why he wears them steel-toe boots. You can figure that out. And then, you know, I train in knife fighting all the time because, man, I have people come at me with blades all the time because I work the roughest clubs I can find. Now, my wife, she trusts me 100%. I will not cheat on her. when I bounce these strip clubs, because I do make good money bouncing these strip clubs, you know, them strippers, they some pretty girls. But my wife's smart. Before I go to work, she'll say, come here. When I go to work, I got no lust in me. That girl done took all that out of me. So, you know, we watched the movie The Road. We watched the movie The Book of Eli. Like I said, my wife is a very religious person. To circle back a little bit, this missionary girl come along. And this one, my daughters, they had nothing to do with me. And this missionary girl, she was so sweet. Now she's my adopted daughter. I love her. You know, genetics does not make family. No. That girl's my daughter. And I love her. And she is my daughter. To back up a little bit, when I was with my first wife, her mother gave birth to her when she was like 40 years old. So she had lived through hard times. And I would see this lady picking weeds out of the yard and cooking them. And man, they taste great. She's the one, my first wife, her mother was an angel. She was such a nice woman. She was so wonderful. She was so good to me. She was a great lady. I know she's in heaven. If anybody's in heaven that I know she is. She was a good woman. And she put up with me, and I was a handful. But she taught me how to forage. That's what got me into foraging. And I was always had the mentality of it. Way before this prepper term came along, I was a survivalist. You know, I was reading Soldier of Fortune when I was a kid, you know, and I learned weapons, and I learned MMA, I learned how to fight, I learned how to use knives. I learned how to use anything for a weapon. So when they do away with the Second Amendment, people are just going to find more menacing ways to do terrible things, because evil people out there, they're going to find a way. And then, you know, when there's no Second Amendment, the good law-abiding citizens, they're not going to be able to defend themselves against the evil people. It takes a good man's skilled at violence to stop an evil man's skilled at violence. Well, I consider myself a good guy. Some opinions vary, but I think I'm a good guy. I carry multiple tourniquets. I tourniquet people to keep from bleeding to death. I carry Narcan, you know, because of the business I'm in. If somebody overdoses, I'll Narcan them. You know, I carry anything that I'm allowed to carry. Quick clot. I'm a triage medic, okay? I'm not a doctor. I'm trained to keep you alive till a doctor gets there. Till the ambulance gets there and gets you to a real doctor. I will keep you alive if it's possible. So I strongly recommend it. I've took a lot of courses in Refuge Medical. They got the best course because they train you under pressure. How to use a tourniquet and everything. It comes from my highest recommendation. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm just saying, just look up Refuge Medical. They travel all over America. You really need to take their class. You need to, and I will tell you this, body armor has saved my life more than once. When I work as a bouncer, you know, I wear body armor. You know, people come up to me and they pat me and they go, whoa, damn, this dude's got tourniquets on him. This dude's got body armor on, because I try to hide it under my clothes. Hopefully, you know, they shoot for center mass like most people, a trained shooter is trained to do. And if I do go out that way, because I think a little differently. I'm not really going to say my beliefs, but if I go out like that, I'm going to Valhalla. But that's my background. And with everything that's going on in this country, we're done for. You know, and I live in a bunker because I do have PTSD, so I'm kind of paranoid. So I do live in a bunker. I cannot stockpile food. But I do know how to forage. I know how to hunt. I know how to fish. I know how to grow a garden. And I do all that. I live off grid. Almost every bit of my electricity is solar. The grid goes down, I'm not even going to know it until someone tells me. I don't have a television in my home. I used to have one, but watching the mainstream media and watching them lie all the time, I would get so pissed off. I finally said, that's it. I can't listen to these lies no more. I cut the cord on the TV, threw it out in the yard. True story. All American Prepper ain't got no TV. That shit's called a programming for a reason. The mainstream media, they don't do nothing but lie. And they lie a lot here lately. So if you follow my channel, I will do my best to get you through what's coming. Because hell's coming and it's not stopping for nothing. And these high gas prices, that's got nothing to do with Russia. All this inflation and all, not really much, maybe a little bit, but not much to do with Russia. If you're already a prepper, or if you have any common sense about you whatsoever, you know what's going on, or you're starting to figure out what's going on. And I'm telling you, this paper money is going to be worthless. You better get your money out of the bank. You better turn that into hard assets, such as gardening tools, property, ways to defend yourself, and if you have the room, hell yes, stockpile it to the rafters. But eventually you are going to run out. So you need to know how to garden and forage. Foraging is number one for me. You don't have to take care of it. There's so many plants that grow that you can eat that is bug resistant. They just grow everywhere. But you really need to know what you're doing. If you eat the wrong plant, you're dead. And something weird is going on. I believe there's just a lot of weirdness going on. I have never seen so much hemlock growing. Hemlock's growing everywhere now. You eat one leaf of hemlock, you're dead. So you better know what you're eating before you eat it. That's why I do not risk a lookalike. Any plant I show you, it does not have a toxic lookalike. And I have a professional forager. Like I said, you go to my video list. I got, on my playlist, I have a foraging list taught by a professional forager. Then you go to my other list, it's the prepper list. And it's taught by me and a professional knife fighter. But if you don't see what's going on in the world, if you have not woken up yet, you're dooming yourself and your family. The price of everything, it is just getting started. Now, if you've hung in with me this long, congratulations, because most people, their attention spans 10 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. And now we're about 30 minutes. So, if you follow my channel and watch my previous videos on foraging, knife fighting, and I got a good one for you. If you go to my you can hit my videos, go to my very first video. It shows me in the cage fighting MMA, getting my ass kicked by a giant. Now the video is a little rough in the beginning because me and my wife, we had just gotten married and she had never seen me MMA fight before. My ex-wife, it ain't nothing to her. She's seen me fight so much. She's, oh hell, he's fighting again, no big deal. But this sweet thing, you know, she was holding the phone, she was nervous, but it's a good enough video to see me get my ass kicked. There's no shame in my game. I couldn't wear my steel toe boots in that cage, and that man was just better than me, you know. Don't be cocky and arrogant. There's always somebody better than you. I can defeat a better fighter on the street, but in that cage, there's rules. Now here, there ain't no rules, and I'm going to win no matter what it takes. Even if he's younger, faster, stronger, got a weapon, it don't matter. Experience goes a long ways, and I've been in over 1,000 street fights. I know guys my age that go, man, I ain't never been in a fight, and I'm like, how in the hell have you, how have you, man, you must be one slick talking dude the way to talk your stuff. I'll never understand that. And I will tell you this, unarmed and helpless is unarmed and helpless, and I'll never understand that neither. But if you follow this channel, I'll get you through this if you're determined to get through it. And if you don't realize what's going on by now, you're done. If you don't start growing you a garden and learn how to forage and hunt and fish and fight in one form or another, and get you some body armor before they make it illegal to get, you're dooming your family. With that, it's the All-American Prepper. Stay strapped, stay ready, stay dangerous, and have a blessed day.